Welcome to Courageous Conversations. I'm your host, Rebekah Sharpe, and I am truly honored to bring you these testimonies that are woven into conversations meant to create a divine tapestry that captures beauty, grace, strength, passion, and you guessed it, courage. Thank you so much for tuning in. God bless. Hello, and thank you so much for joining Courageous Conversations. I am your host, Rebekah Sharpe, and today I am absolutely elated to be introducing you all to someone who is a jewel in my life. Her name is Morgan Banks. She's a sister, a daughter, a friend, a godmother. She's also a principal in training and an activist out of Philadelphia. So Morgan, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me on your talk show. I'm so glad to be here with you.
Can you believe we made it here? We've talked about this moment for so long, and now finally we have arrived. And again, I'm just so grateful that you are stretching yourself today and joining me for what I know will be a great conversation.
I'm so proud of you too for having your talk show. This is a big moment in your career.
Amen. Amen. Well, I gave you a little bit of an introduction, but I'd love for you to just share a little bit more about your background, your vocational background, and also how you and I connected.
Well, so I was a third grade teacher in Philadelphia for 8 years. And then after leaving the classroom, I became an instructional specialist with the school district of Philadelphia, where I coached teachers in all three funding sources in Pennsylvania. So it's Head Start, Pre-K Counts, and Philly Pre-K. I coach teachers in all areas of the classroom. And, it has been a journey for me getting to this position. And like you said, I'm a principal in training. I just started my principal program.
Yes, so excited.
At my park, in order to, grow and develop and build the teachers that we have.
That is so amazing. And can you share just a quick snippet of how you and I connected?
Yeah, so we connected through my longtime sister friend, Sydney Goldman now, previously Sydney Grant, when you came out here with her and visited me in Philadelphia in about, I think, 2016? Maybe?
Yeah, that was 2016. There was a very specific moment that I remember that drew me to Philadelphia. Yes. But really, what I thought I was going there for was one thing, but I ended up with a great friendship blossoming with you. So I feel very blessed and grateful that my path took me there.
Yeah, we had a great time visiting, and you have visited me multiple times. After that, we took a great trip together to Cuba, celebrated many birthdays and ups and downs and all the great celebrations in life. So I'm glad to call you a friend and glad to be here.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for giving us that background. So Morgan, what I'd love to start off with chatting with you about is really this educational landscape, because we know that it has shifted so much in light of COVID. And you being in the educational field, I feel like you've really had your pulse at the heartbeat of what's going on, especially there in Philadelphia. So can you talk about how you all have had to navigate this changing landscape and the impact you feel it has had on both educators and students?
So we're at 1 year, right? We're at 1 year that we've been in the pandemic, and 1 year to last Friday where we left school and they said that we would return in 2 weeks, and 2 weeks turned into a year later and we're still here. So we had to definitely shift how teachers immediately went from teaching in person on a Friday to Monday, figuring out how we're going to reach our kids, connect with them, still provide a quality education, and facing some of the challenges that you face as an urban educator and leader, the inequities sometimes that we have to deal with, which include, access to internet service, computer usage. So we had to definitely shift and figure out how we're going to get all of our kids online quickly in order to still provide a quality education, which we did. We did in about 3 weeks.
Wow.
Got everybody a laptop. Comcast jumped in. We were able to provide free internet access so that we could still provide education to our kids from pre-K all the way up to 12th grade.
Wow, teachers are truly like heroes in my eyes. To know that you all were working feverishly behind the scenes to make sure that your kids didn't experience too much disruption outside of the pandemic, but could still connect to their daily learning is just phenomenal. So, salute, hats off, kudos to you and your colleagues. I know I have several friends who have had to learn how to juggle working full time and also becoming a homeschool teacher, right? Or trying to facilitate their
Yes.
child's online learning. Do you have, I mean, I feel like it would be nice since I'm here talking to an educator. If you have any tips or, suggestions or just different ways that you might speak to parents or share with parents on how to really optimize the learning that's happening in the homes instead of the classrooms now.
Yeah, we know that parents are our first teachers, right? They are their child's first teacher. So what we told parents in the beginning, because it was a big lift, right? Parents are still trying to work. They're trying to manage the home. And then we also said, all right, now here we are. We have to figure out how you're going to support your kids on this Zoom learning platform. So we told parents three things. The first thing is don't stress. We're going to figure this out, right? We're going to figure this out. We're going to get the education in when it is accessible to you. So we did things like asynchronous days where we had learning activities online that they could do when it was convenient to them. We also provided some live teaching. So if you were able to, you could get on at 9:30 and see your teacher teach you a live lesson. So those were two things. The other thing was, feel out your family and feel out if your kids are ready. Because a lot of kids were shocked, right? And they were not really comfortable with doing this online platform. So just saying, are they ready to do this? And if they're not, take a step back, do some reading at home, do some at-home things, and then jump on when they're ready to actually sit down and learn, either asynchronously or synchronously.
Yeah, that's really great. I actually took those notes down because now I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm now equipped to, share those things with parents and friends who I know have really just had to learn how to be resilient and navigate these unprecedented times.
They are definitely unprecedented. We're still in them, but hopefully we're on the other side. We're starting to getting back in the classroom because we know that online learning is difficult for kids, right? This is not the way that I would choose to learn as a student, as many of our other, many other kids don't prefer this platform, but we made it through. And now we're moving toward a hybrid learning model. We're trying to get kids back in the classroom, in some capacity so that they can feel that sense of community and belonging that they missed from
Yeah.
being, on this online platform.
Yeah, and speaking of just the community and the belonging, and really, for we know for many students, school is a safe haven for them. That is where they go to really learn who they are, and to be treated with yeah, that is the place that they go to belong, to learn, to grow, and to develop. And so, what do you think is it's going to take for us as educators, as parents, as godparents, as the greater community that surrounds these children? To help bridge some of that gap that they missed over this last year. And for some children, it might even extend, right? Because their parents may not be comfortable sending them back just yet. So, how can we, as the greater community, kind of step in and help to bridge the gap of what they may have missed?
That's definitely a great question. We're all going to figure that out together. But I think the first thing is really meeting the needs of our kids socially and emotionally. When we go back to school, as we have started to, we don't need to jump into academics, right? We're not going to jump back into ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. We really need to check in with our kids and see how are they feeling? What have they experienced this past year? A lot of our families experienced loss, right? Some people experience homelessness, work parents that are working multiple jobs. So we really need to just take a step back and check in and see how they're feeling and see what resources in the social emotional realm that we can provide to them in order to then later on get back to the academics. Social emotional learning is huge, especially in the population that I serve, like low economic status.
Yeah.
So being able to have counselors on deck, social workers, community helpers,
Wow.
pastors, activists, really coming together to build that community and build their just emotional health, mental health, and talking about what they experienced, taking it back into, then we can get to academics.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I just love the holistic approach that you all are taking. And it brings my heart such joy and warmth to know that people like yourself are on the front lines and really helping to integrate the next generation so that they can be prepared for success throughout their lifetime. So thank you so much for sharing that. And I also, while we're in that social and emotional realm, we experienced a lot of social unrest this year, which really took a huge emotional toll on many of us, not just our children, but on us as well. And I know you served on the front lines of a lot of the things that we saw within this inflection, this racial injustice inflection that we saw in our society. Can you talk about what it was like for you to be out there, marching and writing letters and doing all that you could to really see this tide change here in the US?
So yes, we have definitely had a reckoning in education. Taking a step back, I became a teacher and educator because I never had a teacher that looked like me. I never had someone in the classroom that was able to advocate and look like me standing up there. That's one of the reasons that I work in urban education. So I think the events that happened this year were not hidden events, right? These are things that we knew, but they were enlightened in this Black Lives Matter social unrest realm. So we have, as educators, we have had to take a deep dive into looking at the systems and policies and practices that we have in place in urban education and really analyzing them and seeing, are we providing the best education for our kids that we can? Are we really being inclusive? Are we really highlighting Black excellence, Black culture in our schools? And do our kids really believe and know that they matter in school and that they have a greater purpose?
Wow, that is so profound. And again, it just really enlightens my heart to know that there are people like you and your wonderful colleagues who are like having these tough conversations and really grappling through these systemic inequities, but really there to make a change so that our kids have a greater opportunity for a more rich future, honestly, knowing where they come from, who they are, and what they have the capacity and the potential to do.
Yeah, we've had a lot of conversations around just our biases, our unconscious biases, how we speak to kids. Would you want somebody to speak to your child that way? Do you really believe in Black and brown kids? And do you send the message that they can do and achieve anything that they put their mind to? And are we providing resources and curriculum that are inclusive?
Yeah.
That in those materials and books and lessons, there are people that look like them, showing them that we just weren't slaves, right? We did so many other things. Our journey didn't begin with slavery. We were engineers, we were doctors, we were teachers, we were innovators. So they need to know those things in order to put their mind to something that they want to achieve.
Exactly. Absolutely. We are kings and queens for sure. Truly, there is royalty in our lineage, which I think is so amazing that our kids are now really learning about. Because, like you said, we didn't really learn about that when we were growing up, unless it was being cultivated in the home. But in terms of the school system, it was very, very one dimensional, right? And it was sort of like a monolith. And all we did learn about, speaking for myself, Black culture, Black History Month was about slavery,
Right.
And it was like 2 pages about slavery and more about, oh, here's Reconstruction and here's what Abraham Lincoln did and here's all the wonderful, savior moments. And then you get to college, and for me at least, and you really start to learn about what was going on, and you're like, wow. So anyway, I just think that is so awesome that our children are being equipped with that at such a young age. And I'm grateful now. I mean, it helps me to be grateful for the reckoning, as you mentioned, that we experience, because if the systems wouldn't have been shaken in that way, we might never see the other side of us finally having these conversations, going through the training, going through the resources, the programs, combing through all that we do to really try to establish a more equitable education for all. So I think that just really shows that there is purpose in the pain. We've got a lot of work to do, but we are finally, trudging ahead in a greater direction.
Yeah, you said the key word equitable, right? Not equal, but equitable. We need to provide all of our kids and our families with what they need in order to grow and achieve. That's the goal, is not equal.
Growth and achievement. Love those two attributes, and really want to talk to you about. You mentioned that you were inspired to go into education because of the lack of representation, right? And you knew that you could make a difference in the classroom just by showing up and being yourself and showing these little boys and girls that anything is possible when they put their mind to it. So I'd love for you to talk about, now that you're growing and you're looking to achieve at the next level and becoming a principal, what does becoming a principal mean to you?
Becoming a principal means that I want to build a staff of teachers who look like the children that they serve, right? Teaching isn't a job. It's not something that you just sign up to do, right? It's a calling. Not everyone is also called to work in urban education. So you have to have the mindset and the belief that you believe in Black and brown kids. And if you start with that, I can teach you how to be a great teacher, right? That's why we have coaches. I can teach you those things, but you have to first believe in the population of kids that you serve. Wow. So to be a leader that really puts children and families first, and know that we're not just here to teach the ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. We really have a lot. We have to teach the whole child. It's starting with the social emotional needs, helping families with community resources, all of the things that go into a child. We have to really build up those skills and resources so that kids can achieve inside and outside of the classroom, because that's what we want them to do, right? We don't want them just to excel in our classroom, but maybe take those skills outside in the community and use them for a greater purpose.
Yeah. That's really inspiring. And I know that whoever gets the opportunity to work from you, to glean from you, and the children that will be brought up under your tutelage are going to be so much better as a result of it. If there were more people like you at the helm of our educational institution, I could just see us being leaps and bounds ahead of where we are today. But thank you for doing the important work and for at least moving us forward in the right direction.
Well, I'm glad to be just one of the many great, educators and leaders out there leading this charge and really taking a stance and having these conversations and recruiting teachers who need to do this work, because this is a very important, it's not a job, like I said, it's a calling.
Amen.
You really have to have the heart and the mind and the work ethic, because it takes a lot of work to really get to where we're going.
Amen. Amen. But it's going to be, it's probably some of the most difficult work that you will do in your calling, but likely the most rewarding, just to see all of the lives that will be changed and really the trajectories, right, that are transformed. We know that these years in a child's lives are so critical. So the fact that you guys are able to come in and just help sort of rewire them, right, and look at the child holistically as well, look at the systems holistically and make the necessary changes, the fruit is going to be abundant. And I'm very excited about our future leaders of tomorrow, just knowing again that there's so much thought going into how they are growing, how they are learning, and how they're being positioned to achieve.
They can do it all. That's right. They can do it all.
Yes, they can. And so can we. I'm like,
yes, we
can
too.
We can do all things, especially through Christ who gives us the strength as well. And Morgan, so obviously I know you, so I've got a little background on you, but we're here talking about courageous things that have occurred in our lives. So I'd love for you to explain a time where you really had to demonstrate courage in your life. And from that demonstration of courage, what kind of unexpected goodness came as a result of you taking that action?
So, since we're talking about education, my courageous move was leaving the classroom, right? I was in the classroom for 8 years, and that was like my home, where I felt comfortable, where I grew to be a really good teacher. Because in the beginning years, teaching, it is not easy. You did not. My first class, I am sorry to you. I was probably not the best teacher, but you grow and you finally get to that place where you're like, I got it. I know how to reach my kids. I feel confident. I have built relationships. And then I had this urge to feel like I need to leave the classroom. And not because I didn't want to stay there, but because I realized that I needed to work with teachers and develop teachers, our greatest resource, to help them teach our kids. And so that was a courageous moment when I left. And then I went to this position where I now am in charge of teaching teachers, but I was only, 28 years old. So I go into these classrooms with teachers who have had 20 and 25 years of experience, and they look at me like, wait a minute, you're here to tell me what to do? So I really had to, what did I have to do? I had to, believe in myself first in order to instruct them on how to build them up, right? How to show them that I knew what I was talking about.
Yeah.
I knew best practice. I knew curriculum. I knew how to reach our kids. And so I had to prove myself. That's what I want to say. I had to prove myself to them that I was able to come into their classroom and help them with student achievement, with classroom management, with all the things that go into being a teacher. So that was definitely what didn't happen overnight. In the first year, it was rough. I had some teachers that did not think that I could do this. But now that I'm 3 years in, I can say that I've built those relationships with teachers now that they trust me and they believe that what I will tell them, good, bad, and the ugly, will help them, and then in turn help their kids.
Wow. Yeah, that is really profound. And thank you so much for sharing that. And for me, it just shows that, like, in God, like, everything really does have purpose attached to it. Because if you would have never, like, had the courage and the boldness to leave the classroom, perhaps you wouldn't be fulfilling this next level of your call and moving into principalship. I don't even know if that's a term, but I'm going to make it a term today.
Because that's the name of the first class, the principalship.
Well, glory to God, amen. So yeah, but maybe you wouldn't have even seen that, as something that you could actually attain if you would have stayed comfortable in the classroom. But now you're able to make more like seismic impact on not only your students, but on teachers and families and in the community. So you can have so much more, make so much more of a difference now that you're moving onward and upward in your career. So I just applaud you for taking that leap and now being positioned to impact so many more lives as a result.
Yeah. Thank you. And I do. And I do. I miss the classroom. I miss it very much. So when you leave, you're like, oh, that was great, because you don't have that. You don't have your kids, right? You have lots of kids, but you don't have those 30 kids that look at you every single day and that call you Miss Banks every single day. Now I have like 800 kids that I see. Wow. But it's all good, and it's all for the greater purpose.
Amen.
Reaching our kids.
Amen. Yeah. And even as we're talking about representation, so not only did some children not have teachers that look like them, but to have somebody in administration leading a school that looks like them, that just takes it up to a whole nother realm of possibility, right? So just know that you are inspiring, encouraging, and just blazing greater trails for those students to come after you.
Yes, it is a journey, and we are on our way.
We are on our way, sis. So what do you wish the world would practice more of?
I wish there were more kindness, right? More kindness. Kind people get things done. Kindness will move us in a direction of learning about each other. Just to get to more, being more kind to each other. That's what I think. If you're more kind to people, we can get things done.
Amen.
And we can listen to each other and learn each other's perspectives and stories, so that we can get to this place where we are an inclusive world.
Amen. Amen. I love that. Kindness definitely is key, and it can break some chains. So I concur with your sentiments there. And lastly, I know that we are still young, learning and growing. Some days it doesn't feel like we're that young, but we are in the grand scheme of things. But I love to conclude these courageous conversations just asking, what do you desire for your legacy to be?
Well, since you told me to think about this question, I did think about this question.
Amen.
What would I like my legacy to be? First, I would like my legacy to be that any child that I have had the privilege to stand in front of believe in themselves, right? Know their worth. Know that if there's something that they want to do, they can put their mind to it and they can do it. The second part to that would be that Black and brown kids will be positioned in a world where they can grow up and see people that look like them. Representation truly does matter. And when you see somebody that looks like you in a position and a job that you want to do, it just makes you work a little harder toward getting that, because you can see yourself in that position. So those would be the two things that I want my legacy to be.
Well, amen, sister. Thank you so much for putting such meaningful thought into that question. Thank you so much for showing up every single day and doing the work. And I can firmly and confidently say that you are already establishing that legacy, in the Black and brown children that are within your concentric circle of influence have already seen that anything is possible because of your presence, because of your light, and because of your love. So I consider it an honor and a privilege to call you a friend and a sister. And thank you once again for gracing Courageous Conversations with your presence. We truly appreciate you and love you so much.
Well, I am so glad that you asked me to do this. And I'm so proud of you, like I said in the beginning. And I look forward to more Courageous Conversations with other guests, highlighting all of the great things that your friends and family and people in your life are doing. So thanks again for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. And thank you all for joining us on this episode of Courageous Conversations. We look forward to coming to you again soon with, just like Morgan said, another conversation of highlighting somebody who's doing amazing things in the earth that I think you should definitely know about. So until next time, God bless you. Thank you.